70s, America's 5-year cancer survival rate sat at 49%. Today, it's 68%. But now an extraordinarily successful scientific research system, one that took decades to build and has saved millions of lives and has generated billions of dollars in profits for American companies and investors, that system is being dismantled before our eyes. President Trump's proposed budget for next year calls for a more than 37% cut to the National Cancer Institute. In the New York Times Magazine this weekend, Jonathan Mahler reports that, quote, a deliberate and targeted attack is what cancer research is experiencing right now. One National Cancer Institute official told him, quote, they have studied how the National Institutes of Health works, studied it hard and learned it well, and they've put sand in the gears in ways that are very effective, devastating. The former #2 official at the NIH, who stepped down this year after 18 years there, says, quote, it's an absolutely unmitigated disaster. It will take decades to recover from this if we ever do.
Now, in the first 100 days of President Trump's second term, DOGE has been making cuts at the NIH, or National Institutes of Health. The agency is the world's largest supporter of biomedical research, and since January, it has fired over 1,300 employees and canceled more than $2 billion in federal research grants. CBS News national reporter Karen Waugh is live in Houston for us, a city known for its medical centers and research hubs. Karen, how have hospitals been impacted by this so far?
Well, Liz, more broadly, the NIH funds all types of research across the country, things from vaccine development to finding the cure for cancer.
By the way, as President Trump pushes for major cuts across different government agencies, cancer research and outreach efforts could be caught in the crosshairs. Trump's proposed budget for the next year includes cutting nearly 40%. I'm going to say that again. 40% of federal funding allocated to the National Cancer Institute. That's nearly $3 billion. It's a sharp reversal from the Biden administration's massive investment with support from both parties on this issue. According to the National Institutes of Health, the Biden administration's project, known as the Cancer Moonshot, supported hundreds of cancer research efforts. It developed and sped up efforts to reduce the threat of the disease and help people dealing with it. The Cancer Moonshot no longer exists within the walls of the White House, but many of its initiatives continue across different federal agencies, including at the NIH, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Veterans Affairs. Here to show us what these cuts mean for cancer research and treatment is Dr. Kamal Mangrajani. She is a cancer specialist and a former assistant director of the Cancer Moonshot during the Biden administration. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us what the goals of the Cancer Moonshot were, just to start us out, and then we can get into what these funding cuts mean for cancer research.
Absolutely. So the Cancer Moonshot started in 2016 when then Vice President Biden had just lost his son, Beau, to an aggressive form of brain cancer. But out of this really tragic personal loss, he turned it into action. So during his last year as vice president, he started the Cancer Moonshot. And then after becoming president in around 2022, he reignited the effort. And there were really 3 tenets of what the Cancer Moonshot wanted to accomplish. So accelerate research, reduce the number of deaths in our country related to cancer, and also really support people, families, and caregivers who are going through a diagnosis.
Okay, so let's talk about this proposed funding, $3 billion of cuts that the Trump administration is proposing to cancer research. What will the impact be?
Yeah, so I think there are going to be short-term impacts and long-term impacts. In the short term, I think people are going to lose their jobs. So the NIH, the budget is significantly less than 1% of what we spend as a federal government, but the impact is really quite outsized. It supports hundreds of thousands of jobs across the country.
And then what about the research? Like, what are we losing in terms of science? Or is that research happening elsewhere, and these are cuts that are potentially fair?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So the NIH puts in about $1 for every dollar that private industry puts in order to get a drug all the way across the finish line. And this process can take 10 to 15 years. So what we're looking at is 10 to 15 years down the line, if there is no federal investment, that means that at that point there may be fewer cures and fewer treatments that are available for cancer.